All right, so first off, I wanted to create the airstrip. This is going to be our main transportation for our sanctuary, where all the dinosaurs would be coming in and all that stuff. Now, I wanted to use the Pennsylvania runway, but unfortunately, it was way too large for this map, so instead I used the Sorna Chaos Theory airstrip, and honestly, it turned out probably better than what the Pennsylvania one would have been. uh, because this was smaller and it actually allowed me to add two airstrips and kind of make the size how I wanted it to be. And when I placed it, I actually wanted to remove all the vegetation that was covering it. So on the entire runway, I got rid of all of the plants and all of the dirt. And I just wanted to flatten the terrain as well to make sure that the runway is smooth and not bumpy, because if it was, I probably wouldn't have checked that. So so yeah. The next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to use these airstrip lights that were from the Pennsylvania campaign, because they looked cool. I know that there are the like DFW styled lights with the white and the, I believe it's green, it looks like. Um uh, no, white, green, and orange. Yeah, there you go. And I wanted to use those, but even though they were different style, they were just still lights to me. So I wanted to line them up with this fence. I used the fence as like a grid layout, so I can make the lights symmetrical. Because honestly, it would have driven me crazy, trying to figure out how to place these lights without putting any type of like markers. So I create three main uh, lines for the lights, and at the end of these lines, I add a little fence, so I know where to put the lights. Okay, and then once I get my lights, I turn them so the actual lights face outward and not towards the runway, because when you're taking off on the plane, you don't want to see the lights as you're taking off, because that's an obstruction and that might, cause you to crash. So I place these lights facing out towards the park wherever the fences connect. And I wanted to do this so we had like the same amount of distance between each one of them. And initially I was only going to be doing two on the outsides and not the one in the middle. But then I changed my mind and just added the one in the middle, because it was it would have looked weird just having the two. So I added the ones in the middle, and yeah. So after this, though, we do remove the fence, because obviously you don't want the fence to be there. Just if you guys can't remove the fence and if they're like glitching into the actual lights, you can use the bulk removal tool and just remove the fences in the area. That'll work too. So our lights are now symmetrical and they look great. Now I still have that fence out there. I'm gonna remove that later, but instead I'm going to add a perimeter fence. So we're gonna be using the level 4 fences, the electrical ones, instead of using some of the modded fences that I like using. Now, I wanted to put this fence on the outside, but I was hesitating because I'm like, do I want the dinosaurs to actually be able to be where the lights are? It would be kind of cool, but the planes would anyways be over the dinosaurs, and that's the kind of view that I would want, when you're landing, you just have the dinosaurs underneath the plane. I know that would probably make them go like neurotic, but it it's a cool sight. Now we're actually constructing the area for the main airfield part. So I wanted to create a pathway down from the upper part. That's where our like actual operations facility is going to be. This is just the airfield. Now I placed the hangar down first. The hangar doesn't stay there. The hangar is going to move. I'm just putting that down to scale. And the next building that we add is the air traffic control tower. I wanted to see where the door was, because I wanted to make sure that the doors do have like a pathway leading to them. Now, where I wanted to put this tower, it was either going to be up here, um, just so you can have a full like 360 uh like view of the airspace, or down there, so it was closer to the runway. And so the thing is, I didn't like how the ATC tower was up on the on the hill, because it felt like it was like a lighthouse, and it didn't look right. I wanted the tower to actually kind of just be on the same level as the airfield, and so I can actually connect it via a path. Now, the door wasn't facing the rest of the airfield, so I just rotated it to make sure that the door was facing it. And that's our air traffic tower. All right, so we're gonna speed this up a little bit because this took a while to plan out. So I wanted to attach a path to the hangar. Now, I wanted to use the airstrip, but as I placed it, you can see that there's a visual bug happening, and the airstrip's just way too long. Now, instead of wanting to add more buildings behind that, I'm deciding to remove the airstrip and repositioning this main hangar building closer and in line with the ATC tower. Now, I wanted to remove the vegetation, and I tried dirt and sand here, but the dirt and sand on this map just didn't look right, and it didn't make sense for plane to go from like an asphalt like path runway to sand or dirt. Well, not, I mean, specifically not sand, because you know the plane would sink, but it didn't make sense for it to go from like solid to not solid to solid, because inside the hangar it would be solid, right? So yeah, so instead I'm using this path that I didn't really want to use, but in the end it worked out kind of good, because most of the other things were attached via the same path and to this area as well. Now, putting the pathway around the hangar kind of marks the hangar as like an important building. It allows the actual people to go around it. And then we add the pathway to the ATC tower, making it look like you can actually walk inside, which is kind of cool. Then the next building that we place is our garage. Now, again, everything wasn't planned in this build, so a lot of the stuff was just off the top of my head, and it just happened just because I thought of it in that moment. So we filled this area up with with the pathway, and it actually looked good, so I went along with it. But I wanted to place vehicles outside of here, so instead of remembering that I had decoration vehicles, I was using the ranger teams from the Raptor mod, or the Raptor paddock mod. And so placing these vehicles down, I'm like, oh, wait a second, I actually have these utility vehicles and the water trucks, so I could be using those as well. So I placed down some of them, I removed some of them, or removed some of the ranger vehicles, and then I add a pathway to have kind of like a back lot area for this garage. And this kind of becomes a bigger area, bigger than I thought it was going to be. So I make this like large area where the vehicles can just go out of. Then I actually use I believe it is the fence from the Gentle Giants. I believe that's what it is. So I use this fence to divide the garage area with the exit of it. So I just layer these fences all the way down, and then it's pretty much set. Now, leaving it there, I was thinking about um having more to this, but I didn't know if I wanted to commit to that. So as I removed these vehicles, I added the like gas tanks and like the cargo, the shipping containers, and just some extra other vehicles. So that's what I pretty much do right here. Okay. These are the vehicles that I didn't know that existed. I was just going through them one by one, seeing which ones I had. And I'm like, oh wait, there's a parking platform as well. It probably wouldn't have turned out better than the paths, but because it was so small. But I kind of like how this turned out in the end. And I did forget that we had these like black trucks too, which probably would have been good. Okay. So the next thing that I ended up doing was I wanted to add the gas station from the InGen Town mod. And so I wanted it to be like a refuel station just outside of the garage area. Because I thought, you know, that would be kind of cool. This is how you refuel your vehicles. And like the good thing about the Malta area is there's not really a defined regional like building style. Like you could use pretty much any of the eras and they would look so good on them. So since the Engine Town is basically what Jurassic Park era, it just fits in with the Malta vibe. Because, you know, with the Malta style, with the Malta era preset, you get like all these broken buildings on all these rusty buildings, and it just turns out well. Next few buildings that I place are just filler buildings. They just are there just to be there. Like there's nothing really special to them. I have this area in front of this building that I didn't want just being empty. So instead I filled it in with trees and kind of made this side of the this side of the runway be more vegetated than the other side. So I used the concrete of the airfield to or of the airstrip to kind of signal that as well. So I fill it in with trees, and then I add some vegetation just for the floor, and that's when I realized that the vegetation actually goes on the outside of the or goes on the outside goes on the inside of the building. So I fixed that later, but then I wanted to connect all these doors to the pathway. And then we have this weird place where the pathway just extends. So I just cut it off, remove the end of the path, and then I'm like, okay, this garage is kind of looking kind of bland. And so I was thinking, do I place a building on this other end to make it not look like blank? But it just, the building looked too big, and I didn't want the entire area to be like the Pennsylvania area, like on like the like where these buildings are from. So I placed more of the smaller buildings down, and I wanted to make it more compact because making it compact makes it feel like there's a lot in one area without it being spread out. And I feel like that was the perfect vibe for these Malta buildings or this Malta map, because it's just like you're on an island, you don't really have a lot to work with, so you know you gotta work with what you have. And so that's what these buildings do. Now I pretty much do the same thing. I connect the doors, and then I look and I see, I'm like, wait, there's two different types of garages. So I placed on this other garage because instead of having it be open all the way out there, I wanted to enclose the garage with the fence on the other side. And then I was just looking, I'm like, do I want to make this symmetrical? And I ended up doing that because it just worked well. It just worked better like that. Then on this other side, I wanted to add another entrance for the garage. So I tried to make the fences as symmetrical as possible on the sides. I don't start it from there. I continue onward. Try to get a fence towards the other side so I kind of have the same axis that I can follow. And so there I place it, attach it to the building, and I just remove the rest of them. And then find our center where we're gonna put the middle part. And so there our center is made. And so I went and I found these decorations, and I remembered that we have the checkpoint, security checkpoint one. And I'm like, okay, well, that's perfect for this because it makes sense and it actually fits. It actually fits, and there's like a divide in the build anyways, or in the model. So it doesn't go through the building. The fence doesn't go through the building. It just goes through the ground of it, which is nice. So I add more trucks, more trucks. I added cranes, you know, just all the stuff. And I know the cranes don't look like they'd fit, obviously. So I'm like, okay, how would you store a crane? You just put the crane down, obviously. So there's the logic in that one. And then I just look at all the other stuff, look at the if I have any other vehicles, but I realized that I wasn't placing any of the ranger teams anymore. Because since I had the other vehicles, so I just placed the ranger team. And I didn't want the ranger team to be there, but I didn't want to have to redo the like that entire area. So instead I just left it there. And I'm like, okay, it just looks like they're trying to leave the area. Now we have our pathway out of the garage. Okay. I'm looking at the area, looking at like, okay, how much space do we actually have to mess with? If I wanted to make the like operation area down here as well, or if I wanted to if I had enough room on the map basically to mess with the dinosaurs as well. So it was just a lot of thinking. So I create another little like back alley, or not back alley, but like it's more so like another pathway to get to this main path that's going to be taking us out of the airfield area. And so it kind of works like a back alley, but I align the pathway now since I actually have an entrance and an exit. Boom, we have that. And then we connect this side to the air traffic tower as well. So everything is just connected. And then we connect this to the airfield just in case, you know, the vehicles need to, you know, get off of the airfield. And I was going to line the airfield, but I forgot that there's just like weird visual design on like the edge of the airfield, so I just didn't do that. Then I pretty much just filled the rest of this in with vegetation. And this goes on for later as well. It just gets filled with vegetation. I also add a little hill um in this area because it just looked too flat. So I added a small hill and I wanted to slope it so it just actually I wanted to smooth it so it actually just fit in a little bit more. It's just, you know, just some imperfections in the terrain that I wanted to do. Okay. Then I just remove all of the trees from inside the buildings because I know that that was an issue and that probably would have looked really ugly. And yeah, so we have our garage, we have our hangar, we have these little weird buildings. And then I think, okay, I need to figure out where I'm going to be putting the helicopters because it's an airfield, yeah, but the one thing Jurassic Park is known for, Jurassic World, are that we have helicopters as well. So we need a place to land the helicopters. And so I make this place by the garage. And I was gonna make this the entrance, but I realized that I don't really want people down here, like any of the staff or the guests or any of them down here. Like this is just all decoration. So I pretty much put the helicopter pads and then I attach the pads with the pathways. Again, I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to because it just felt nice. And then I look at this and I'm like, this looks kind of weird. I don't know really what I wanted to do here. I try to do different vegetation, you know, try to make it look like it's not just all empty. But at the end, it just did not look great. Try to even make the pathways smaller. It just didn't look great. So instead, what I did was I connected more pathways and I tried to see like how I could make this look good. Right. So pretty much I make a new area for the path and connect it to the garage path. And then I fill this in. And I'm like, okay, this is where I actually know what I'm doing. And my brain's starting to work. So I fill it in. And then I have this little helicopter entrance area for like any cargo, any like people, you know. So yeah, so we just fill it in. Okay. Then the next thing that we ended up doing was we put these like little circles on the outside of the helicopter pad. Um, I just I didn't want it to just end at the end there, so I just added the pathways at the end. Or yeah, I added the pathways, and then I added a lot of trees. But then I remember that the trees, you need to be able to see the helipad when you're landing. So I removed the trees closer to the helipad, and then put them closer to the buildings. And then I put more trees over here because it just felt weird not having a lot of trees. And I know Malta that is like one of these biomes that, like, you know, is technically desert-like. So it's just like weird when I'm putting down these trees. Okay. Next thing that we end up doing is we are looking at like what other stuff that we can do, right? What other buildings we could put. And I almost put that building down, but instead I put these water towers down because I wanted some like verticality to the build, or to this like whole area, right? I wanted things to not seem like, oh, it's just buildings, buildings, buildings. We have some like different style buildings, right? We have some that look, some of them that look like owls, some of them that are large, some of them that are small. We have the towers, you know, just something different. Then I just see this weird, I just see how weird it is on the edge, by the way, of this airstrip. So instead I put the vegetation back on the ground and put it like close to the airstrip as well. Because it's okay if the plants get on the airstrip. This area is, you know, gonna be really dusty, really all the twigs and all the bushes and stuff are gonna be like, you know, causing issues. So they're gonna be like blowing in the wind. So I just thought that would kind of feel like that. Then I add my little plane there, just, you know, as a little decoration. The Jurassic Park 3 plane I just added there just so it just looked you know, just some detail, just a little bit of detail. That's pretty much it. Then I have this divider because I remember now that we have these Malta little buildings. So this is where I actually decide to put gas for the helicopters. And I didn't want to use a crane there as well because it just felt like the crane was too large. And you don't want anything to obstruct the helicopters take off and landing. And I felt like the plane was just too much. I felt the signal tower wasn't, and it made sense, but, you know. And just put some more decorations down, make it look like the helipads are actually in use. Put the stuff layered next to the helipads. So then I want to put this over, and I didn't notice at the time that there is like this weird mud in front of it. So where I place it, it just, I didn't realize that it had that thing, and it just looks weird on the pathways. So I do move that back later bit, but yeah, we then try to put these concrete barriers down and try to have it follow the arch of the path. And then I just go and I just straighten this entire area. Boom. I didn't really use a grid like with the fences for this, just because it's nothing important to like grid this out. This is where I realized that the mud was an issue. So I moved these buildings back towards the wall. You know, just some background detail. You know, oh, we have these buildings back here, right? I don't know. Fill the rest in with like the grass. And then here is where I start to get a little bit more styled. And I place down some trees, you know, just some decorations. I place down some trees, then in the middles of those trees, I place down these like lights. These like pillar lights. But as you can see, I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I'm like, oh, these are perfect actually, because, you know, it lights up the area. Boom, we have all that set up. The last thing I pretty much do here is add some vehicles and add some just human props. So I add down the utility vehicles, I add the ranger teams, make it look like, oh, it's like that Jurassic Park scene where the ranger teams are picking up the people. Um, yeah, and then I add like some ACU people just guarding the helipads, and then I just add some workers just randomly, just so they're existent. You know, I plan to add more of the people and more boxes and all that stuff later on, but for right now, I just wanted to uh, see how they would look in this area. Next thing, I try to figure out what I want to do for most of the other builds. And then where I realize I fill this area in with trees, kind of separating it again, like I said. And then this is where I look at the hangar. I'm like, okay, I need to put something in between the hangar and the airfield. But I realize that the hangar doors are there. So ideally, this wouldn't be separated, or this wouldn't have any items in between the hangar doors and the airfield. So instead, I add on an area with pathways, and this is going to be our cargo area. This is something that I wanted to do first, and recently I actually figured out that I had a couple of mods installed that helped me with building parts. I realized it in, I think, my live stream, but I placed these fences down just as, again, another grid system, just as markers, and then I placed these concrete barriers down. Initially I didn't have a plan, so I had to remove the first one I placed, and then I pretty much placed these concrete barriers on this axis all the way down to the end, and I don't put them on the I guess in this case I don't put them on the y-axis because there's where we're going to use our cargo or our storage containers as the barriers. Okay. We're gonna just remove the fences, and we have our concrete barriers in a line here, and then this is where we add our cargo containers. Now, the cargo containers, I haven't really been a big fan of these lately. I used to use them a lot, but I kind of forgot there was a white one and a blue one that InGen used. So I placed on a whole bunch of blue ones, just having them different, like different orientations and all that stuff. But I haven't also really been a fan of using them because there was only, you couldn't stack them on top of each other. I feel like you should have been able to stack them basically just on top of each other. Because when do you just see a cargo or a storage container just on the ground just sitting there, you know? Like I don't know. From where I am from, you see storage containers always on top of each other, and it just felt weird not having them. So I also placed down some of the cages and the cages, I guess. Then I added some cranes, you know, just add some different things. Make this a storage area, you know, where we unload the planes and all their stuff goes. But the reason why I'm actually doing a cargo area now is because I remembered that there is a like freeform mod that allows you to adjust the y-axis and the z-axis. I believe it's something toolbox. Kind of forgot, but it allows us to adjust the axes a little bit of our items in the game. So after I place down all these cages, I start messing with it. Okay. You can see me going through all of these different little settings, trying to figure out how to use it. Pressing all the buttons. I'm pressing all the buttons, trying to figure out which key it is. I'm like, how do I do this? So I'm pressing the buttons, and I find it. The button was, I believe, N. So here you can adjust the y-axis and all that stuff. And I'm also trying to figure out how to move it like the other way, like so it's on top of this one on the outside, but I just couldn't figure it out. So instead, I was trying to figure out how to copy the y-axis so I can use it for the rest of them. So this took me a couple of attempts because this was my first time using the mod and I didn't understand what it meant copy and paste for some reason. So you can see me just kind of having issues here. So I just placed down my containers that I'm going to be using. And then I pretty much just repeat this for the next like 10 minutes in the game. So I'm gonna just fast forward through this because it's not really anything special. I'm just placing all these boxes on top of each other and just trying to align them perfectly. So you'll see the finished product right now. All right, so we're just placing down our last few boxes, and I think what really helped with this part of the build was how I wanted to add some depth to the boxes and them being placed. Now, something I should have done was I should have made the boxes closer together and not so separated with like the spaces in between them, because one, that's a hazard that they can just fall over. And you know, it's just like, oh, if I really want to do that. So I add some depth by like, you know, placing some boxes underneath, or making the boxes be placed by the cranes. So making it seem like the boxes are being built up instead of all the boxes just being there originally. Now I try to put this box up by the crane to make it look like it's being held up by the crane. I know that this isn't the type of crane that'd be using it, but it looks perfect. It looks perfect. It looks like the crane is actually doing something instead of just standing there. So I thought that was really cool. And that pretty much just sets us up for all of that. I added a few cars just for decorations, even though those white vans at least should not be there. But these black large trucks I felt like should be there because I feel like those are the ones that should be transporting the dinosaurs. Like the smaller ones at least. And then we add our security checkpoint and it looks perfect. Now I wanted to add the security checkpoint somewhere over here, but instead of doing that down here, I'm going to be doing it in the next section. All right, so our next section that we're going to be building is our operations area. Originally this park wasn't supposed to be like for guests or like amusement or anything like that. It was primarily just supposed to be the sanctuary, although it now pretty much is just a mixture of a sanctuary and like a park, just so it has money making abilities. Um, so it's just kind of a mixture, but it's more so a sanctuary. Um, so the first thing I pretty much did for this operations area was I flattened out the entire area to be one level, because I noticed that it was really sloped on the entrance by the pathway that we had placed, and of like how the actual interior of the area that we're working on was like really sloped as well. So I flattened the area and I basically just redid the terrain to how it was before, but with more flat areas in the middle that I can place buildings on. Now I know you can just pretty much just choose a level to work with and then flatten it and all that stuff, but in the end I feel like me knowing the actual terrain is a lot better than me not knowing the terrain and just, you know, having to figure out like as I go on. I'd rather know the terrain and then, you know, modify it because I know it. So we do multiple levels here. We do a lower, a middle, and an upper. And then on the other side, and soon you're going to see that there's that big cliff. So we were going to have to mess with that anyways. Yeah, so you can pretty much see like the areas where the terrain was going to slope down, and like they were going to become an issue later on. So we had to create multiple layers of like cliffs and hills and slopes, and it was just a nightmare to actually do. Um, so you can see that, yeah, you see I have to do a lot of flattening, and that's what you're gonna see for this entire part. We're just messing with the terrain just to try to make it work. Actually, um, in the end, I feel like it did turn out well. Um, was it worth it to actually flatten the entire area and to, you know, work off of it from what I wanted it to be. Yeah, it was. Um, it was painful, but you can just see how I'm just sloping everything, and you can see that there's a huge cliff there, and so it's like you have to work from the cliff and make it not a cliff. Because I wanted the area to be flat. I wanted a lot of the area to be flat, so you can see that there's this like large area there now, like that I'm currently terraforming, and I'm over here creating slopes on the sides because I wanted to have actual like natural like ways up to get on top of that cliff without it being, you know, the cliff being an issue. So I actually make these things what they look like, which, you know, turned out well. I like the cliffs. You can see that I'm using this rock texture because the other rock texture only really worked on like larger mountains. It felt like I never really saw a reason to use it, but you can see that I'm using the dirt now to patch up the sides. And you can see me try to use the other rock texture right here. I'm like, nah, nah, that's not gonna work. But yeah, after that, you can see that we have this whole area flat. I checked it. And then now it was our time to work on the helipad. So I know we have the helipads down at the actual airport, but the thing that I wanted to do with this was the airport is more so staff entrance, staff stuff, you know. This area was supposed to be our airport or our helipads for our guests. Like I said, it wasn't supposed to be a park. It was supposed to be just a sanctuary, so there was not supposed to be any guests. Uh, but in the end, I turned it to have guests because I just thought that would be better. So we had multiple like different like variants of the helipads. In the end, I chose this design. Um, Again, there was like 45 minutes worth of footage just for the helipads themselves, and I was not gonna narrate all of it because it was just annoying to figure out which way I wanted to like put these helipads. If I wanted them to be faced away from each other, if I wanted them to be like together, like how they are here, like what did I want to do, right? So I was just overthinking it, and then this became our design. So you can see that I'm putting the planters, pretty much creating like a wall. Um, I did try to take into consideration that you wouldn't want to sit anywhere near the helipads unless you had to. Um, so this area was pretty much off limits to guests wanting to chill in the park. So I'm over here putting like all these barriers. But right now I'm just looking for like a design to put in the middle. You see, I'm going through multiple things. I'm like, oh, Jurassic Park. So I just put a speaker, honestly. Like when you land in the helicopter, you just hear like the music playing or something, or you know, just a speaker from the Jurassic Park Operation Genesis game. Then I put these lights down. Actually, I like these lights. They really help with creating just little details. So I create these lights to have like a natural like to have like a border just for I guess vehicles to know like, oh, don't be over here, this is for gas or whatever, because there would be vehicles here sometimes, you know, pick up gas if they need to. But yeah, so over here we have like a sitting zone that we're making, and you know, like I'm like, okay, this is like the farthest point from the helicopters, like in between all the helicopters that you have. So I wanted that to be the sitting zone, and I'm placing trash cans in the middle. Just, you know, people might be eating snacks on the way to the park, you know. But you can see that I'm messing with the different things I wanted to think about placing, and I ended up placing the seats. And the seats worked out well because, you know, they have the guests just sitting on them by default. So it really worked out well. Now you can experience me trying to figure out the the pathways. I think I changed the pathways like 5 times maybe. But in the end I chose the concrete paths and the like there's different like different different meanings for the paths that I actually put that you'll see soon. But yeah, we make our little entrance over here. And I believe I put like a little patio thing here as well. I don't know if I removed it or not. I don't think I removed it. I think I kept it. But looking back at it, it looks actually really decent. I was gonna put some advertisements up, like the billboards, but I I just didn't feel like it was in the vibe of sanctuary, you know. Yeah. So I don't think we addressed this issue now, but you can see that I'm trying to figure out how to extend this to like a one pathway type thing. So I instead of doing that, I just work on the actual rest of the park. So over here, I'm trying to figure out where to put my my operation center. So I wanted it like viewing out over the park to see the dinosaurs and all that stuff. You know, be like, yeah. And then I just placed my other buildings. Again, I didn't know if I wanted it to be like a concrete, like square, like how the airport was, or if I wanted it to be spread out. In the end, I chose for it to be spread out because I'm like, realistically, what are we gonna put here? Like, it's not supposed to be a park, right? Like, in the end, we put like a hotel and some shops and all that stuff, but like, still, you know, you need amenities if you're gonna have guests by default. But I'm like, what's an isolated part that's small enough to have all these different buildings? So I put all these buildings here, and you know, it felt like it worked. So I use the concrete paths as walkways, right? You can see that I'm using them as walkways. I haven't really modified the like different uses for the paths, I think, until now, I want to say. Yeah, you can see that I'm messing with it. I'm like, like, do I really want to? Yeah, I think this is where it happens. So I'm just like, I'm just putting the pathways there. I'm just like, okay, it looks like there's a road, and it looks like there's a actual walkway. So I use this as a road, um, like for utility vehicles. And at this point in time, I didn't know if I wanted to use like tour vehicles in this area yet, or if I wanted it just to be the main pathway. Uh, I think what we ended with was um a good decision. I just didn't like, I don't know. I just wished you'll see, but I just wish that you could place the tour vehicles paths onto these paths without them trying to like snap onto it. And do like the crosswalk thing. I felt like the crosswalk like kind of messed it up a little bit. But yeah, you can see that I'm changing it now to the like classic wide path where the roads are. And you can see me just looking at like, oh, do I really want to change this area? But instead I just kept it going straight down all the way to the end. Like if it's a road or something. And then I changed it to the main pathway, like the thoroughfare, because I just thought it was larger and like I felt like more buildings could be on that pathway. Okay. I did say that I wanted to put this building. I did say I wanted to put this building though. Um Eventually up on this area, and I did. I'm just over here just overthinking where I'm gonna place it. And then I changed this rest of this pathway to be road. So the brown is our road. The black or the gray is our walkways. I feel like it probably should have been the other way, but I don't know. Um, yeah. Anyways, I make these little walkways go up more, and yeah, I just get them to the point of like, oh, do I want to like continue this, or you know, I just want to figure out this part first though, because this part is our entrance that matters the most. Like, do I want to do like a DNA design like how I'm doing now? Do I want to just to make it do I just want to make it like go straight into a tour path? Like, what do I want to do with this, right? Do I want to make this a park, or you know, or like the sanctuary it was supposed to be? But in the end, I think we kept this design. Uh, Oh, placing the toy vehicles, that was annoying. That was annoying. I'll talk about that in a bit. But placing the toy vehicles was very annoying because I did not know what that was gonna like happen. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do with that stuff. Okay, so I make this all. You can see that I'm messing with that. I just don't know what to do here. Okay. Then I connect this to our operations area, but I try to figure out. Oh, I realized I can't move the operations area. I was gonna move it, but apparently I couldn't. So I just branch off and I just kind of make a little rotunda for our operations area, and then I just have these like little nubs that connect, like these little walkways. So this is where I actually decided, you know what, I'm just gonna keep these walkways. So I keep the walkways, and you know it works. Eventually I do connect them. It's just I had to finish this main pathway first, since those are technically roads, and this is the pathway. So. So we create our crossing point. And I know if paths are connected to buildings or if paths are connected to other paths, yes, we'll walk down them. Which is why I was kind of hesitant on placing these paths connected to the road because I didn't want people walking on the road. But in the end, I thought, you know, it's probably gonna be inevitable that they were gonna walk on the road. So I tried my best to like add like different like uh barriers to keep them from walking on the road, which I could have probably put some fences, but I still wanted the road to be operational. Like if I wanted to take a vehicle down the road and, you know, go down the road, I could, you know. So, right, then reconnect this area, try to figure out how we're gonna bring this all the way over there. Um, yeah, this took some thought. I wanted the design to be good, but at the same time, I just didn't want it to like do really terrible. Like a lot could like look ugly. So I think I just kept it like that, I'm gonna be honest. And then I just connected the rest of this. Um you can see that I'm using the snapping turns to make it like even with the area, but you can see that this area has like a weird snap where it's uneven. So I spend like probably like 3 minutes trying to figure out how to make it look good, or like trying to like connect it. I'm trying to make it a curve and not like a weird angle like how that was. But in the end, I just pretty much just go with whatever it was gonna give me. It wasn't worth trying to figure it out. You can see me getting frustrated. I deleted the entire thing. But I tried my best, and boom. I said, "Screw it. That works." It looks decent. But yeah. So I'm over here thinking also as well. I have this road that's connected over there on the other side that has no walking pathways that connects to our main part that I'm putting the barriers on now. Um, do I want the walking pathway to be on this one too? I thought no, because you don't need walking pathways in every single road in the park. So, you know, like I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. It's like, oh, um, Jurassic World, like in the movie or whatever, didn't have all these like different pathways with walking paths on them. Like, you know, you have like a road through the jungle. It's not gonna have a walking path on the side of it. That's pretty much what my thought was. Then I wanted these signs to be here, just be like, oh, don't enter. It's a cafe. Don't enter. You know. Well, I thought that was a good thing to do. I didn't want to put them in the middle. I also didn't want to put down this building. This building would have caused me to like not actually. Well, it was too big. And two, it would have like not allowed the vehicles to go through because the thing doesn't go up or down. And I wanted some type of doors. Wanted some type of gate. So you can see me just messing with the walls, different types of things. But then I remembered we have chain link fences. Or whatever these fences are, vertical bar fences, right? So I pretty much just make a perimeter out of this. And I just use this as an actual fence instead. Like as the fence to enclose this area. And I think it turned out pretty cool. Like it kind of matches the area. This area is like a industrial area. It's supposed to be operational. It's supposed to be a facility. It's not going to be like an electric fence. It's just straight up a fence. So you can see that I have like the two entrances there. I put my signs. Yeah, I move my signs in the middle because these aren't roads. These are like walking paths. So like you can walk around the sign. You can't drive around the sign, Yeah. I saw that the fence was a little bit not like aligned, so I removed it instead. And then I just connect it all the way to the end. I changed this though because I realized on this side it would have looked kind of weird just having it wrap around the building. So I connected to the existing fence that was on the building itself. And when I say connect, I mean I used the free build to put it in the building. At the end, we have like an enclosed little area, which works. And we can see little decorations out here, vegetation from planters. I kind of didn't like how there's only one tree planter in this one. But it worked. So I wanted to put this here so vehicles could still get in, but I didn't really. I wanted it to express that this is an area you're not supposed to enter. Like there's guards, there's security cameras. Don't enter. It's a staff area. Then I added some buildings. I added some vehicles on like the sides. Still giving space for another vehicle just to drive on the other side. Then I remembered there was Jeeps and all that stuff. And I found out that you can actually drive these Jeeps and MVU units. And when they return to the spot that you placed them in. Which I thought was really cool. And then I wanted to put like a truck somewhere. And I saw that was a keep clear area. So I just put the truck in this area. And I put the other truck here. And then I realized that there was some like bars. Which I'm like, But yeah. Yeah. Anyways, this is when we start working on our tour. And this was a whole mess of a recording session. This took 2 hours to figure out what I wanted to do. And it kind of sucked. Because it was bad. It was terrible. But so this take, I loaded the game at my previous save like multiple times. I pretty much said I'm gonna do the tour, but I'm not gonna make the tour like be the entire road. So what I do instead is place on a hotel. I connect the hotel to the main pathway, and yeah, the hotel's path is the classic one, the classic pathway. And I changed all the way to the entrance. And that's it. Pallet pads are still the same, concrete. And then I placed down some shops. I wanted to use small shops here because the big shops make it seem like they're too out of their place, especially on a map that looks like this with this filter on it. I just thought it would have looked weird. But I do place my tour. I place it in the middle of like this whole entire like area, because I did want the tour to be like, oh, go on the shuttle, it's a shuttle, it's gonna take you places, and I just thought it was important that like it was actually It was actually like there, you know? Like it was the first thing that you see pretty much when you enter the park. It's straight from the entrance. It's right there. Go on it, you know? Then I start planning out the pathway for the actual shuttle. I use sand. This sand stays a while, or stays a this sand stays a while, like throughout my build. I don't stick with this sand for like the design. This is just for me to know mentally. Oh, this is where the path is supposed to be, where it's supposed to cross. Blah 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 blah. You know. And so this is where I'm plotting the path of the actual tour. And you can see that I'm messing around here with the different rotations of the tour building because I'm like, oh, wait a second. I want to put two tour buildings here, right? One for getting off here and one for when the tour goes throughout the entire park and comes back. Because when you come back, you probably don't want to go directly to the entrance of the park. You might want to stop and, rest at the hotel or, eat something at the shops that are going to be here in the future, So I'm over here just messing with the different like layouts of this. And eventually I went with one that was kind of angled that you'll see in a second, but you can see that it's just messing with me. I'm like, I don't know, because I wanted it to go in through one area and go out towards the actual park on this right one. On the left one, I wanted it to come from the end, or come from the park and exit towards the entrance of the park. So it takes you back all the way to the entrance. So this is what I think I continued with. I then add the pathway, and yeah. I realized that I want to put the pathway alongside like how it was on the other side, and then this goes and it follows the main guest pathway. So I don't follow the work path anymore. Okay, then it just crosses 2 times here, and boom, we have our main path for our tours. Then we just extend this out this way to our actual park, or our sanctuary, I guess. And then we just set, what we're gonna put later on in the future. Uh, that area is not gonna have commentary. That area, I'm just gonna explain to you pretty much things that you guys need to know as I'm building it. But for right now, let's just build this tour path. Okay, so the tour path actually worked out pretty nice. I'm happy with, I'm happy with the like the multiple paths going alongside each other. You have the tour, you have the road, you have the walking path, and then you have the different it's the different ways to get to other places, which is really cool. Okay, this, boom, we connect over here. Again, I hate that snapping. I know it's intentional, and I know this game doesn't think about mods because it has mod support, but it's not, approved mod support, So it's just that snapping would unless there's someone that makes a mod for that, or unless there's a setting to turn it off. I actually don't know if there's a setting to turn it off. I've played this game for 5 years, but don't know. Then I just connect this pathway to the path in the back. I was thinking about connecting it to the road right there, but in the end I don't, because that's the work road, and I just thought that was gonna be a little bit kind of not a smart idea. And you can see that I connect the road there, I flatten the area. This messes with removing those barriers, so those barriers are now buried underneath the floor. But this slope right here was kind of an issue, but I ultimately didn't remove it. Then I filled in these 3 holes with, a different type of pathway, just for some decoration. I filled in later. But yeah. All right. So the next thing that I work on is the tour exits over here. This was kind of confusing to make. I didn't know how to make this look nice. In the end, again, I probably said this like 10 times in the video. It turned out really well. Um, I made this whole area kind of like it was supposed to just be chairs and stuff. It wasn't supposed to be anything too big. Connect the path to the hotel from the tours, and then I just add some, some little details here, some little areas that people can sit, or I could put like planters or skeletons or something like that. Something just something. um, but you can just see I'm messing with the paths. And again, this whole area wasn't supposed to be too big, but in the end, it turned out very big. This area had large amenities. I think it had large amenities, maybe medium amenities. It wasn't small. It definitely wasn't small amenities. But so, kind of just gave people reason to stay at the park with the hotels. But yeah, I make these little seating areas with trash cans and all that stuff, and some benches. And then on the other side, I actually wasn't going to put anything, or I was gonna just put the tables and chairs. But instead, what I did was I pretty much did this exact same thing on the other side, where I put the planters with the chairs in front of them. And the one thing I wanted to make sure was that this wasn't symmetrical to the other side. I wanted it to not be like too perfect. So the tables, or not the tables, so the benches and the actual planters, so they're just spread out. And we add some little lights, more like, oh, this is a little waiting area. We just had a fountain just to, have a little bit of a design. And I wanted to put some like something else here. But in the end, I just placed some more tables and chairs. I placed some umbrellas over here. Thought it was better than, just putting chairs. Over here, I put tables and chairs just to have a little area that you can get to. Put a dinosaur right here, so you don't have a reason to go walk around it, like over there. And I wanted to put these walls up, but they just weren't the same size, and I wasn't going to deal with that whole thing, so I just kept this how it was. And so that was it. All right. So for this next part, you can see that some work has been done. I kind of forgot to click the record button, but as you can see, we have a river rapid ride, and we have our tour going all through the enclosure. And you can see that I made some terrain changes, and I added this over here. This is going to be our response facility and our power stations, just so we can have power. So pretty much what I do here is I create like this little valley with the river. This is gonna come into play later. This was supposed to be where the pteranodons and the dimorphodons and all those like flying reptiles were supposed to be, like in this like specific valley. I add a ton of rocks later. I actually like how it turned out. Yeah, you guys will see pictures in the Discord if you guys join that. So join the Discord if you guys aren't part of that. The link is in the description if you made it this far. But yeah, so pretty much here, I'm just setting up the river rapids. I really like how it turned out. What sucks is that at the end of this video, we don't add any dinosaurs. My plan with this video was supposed to be that we were going to build the park, and then we were going to fill the dinosaurs on stream. So unfortunately, we couldn't do that because the dinosaurs, because of the save wouldn't load. It just, I think it corrupted, or it thought I was missing a mod, but I wasn't. So it just didn't work. Which was sucky. because this was like an actual and amazing part to me. But oh well. Next time I'll try to actually make backups of my saves before working on them again, like if I know that it actually works. But yeah. Anyways, we have our power connected. Um, the thing with our power was that I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too out in the open, like it wasn't too obvious, because I felt like having the power cables in the park just ruins the environment, as you can see on the right side. So I placed like trees and stuff there and all that stuff to make it look like it's just, you know, not like out in the open. And then place these power cables in like areas that probably won't be seen to the people, eye of the people. I also wanted to limit how many vehicles are just being used in this entire park. I kind of realized that I was recording over the wrong audio file, so I just had to fix it real quick. So we're going back, but yeah, so we have our power cables just going throughout our entire area. I wanted it to be naked to the eye, so I placed trees over them later. But yeah. Anyways, this whole area right here is supposed to be like a viewing area, like a viewing gallery, kind of like a supposed to be an outpost. I don't know if any of you guys remember some of my old videos where in the first game on Isla Sorna we made a whole bunch of outposts like this, which actually kind of might be a good video idea. I can see myself doing that. I had to take a yawn real quick, sorry. But yeah, so I add these like, you know, viewing galleries and viewing towers, and this is where I said like, oh, the viewing towers like look the other way. Also, I noticed that this was being weird, so I just made 2 straight lines and just attached them like that. But yeah, but these viewing towers just look directly at the cliff, so it just doesn't make sense to me. And then here I like decide to add like actual like amenities as well. A shelter is important. I think this is the only shelter in the park. I believe that this is the only shelter in the park. I don't know why it just only like made me think now. But yeah. Anyways, this whole place is isolated. This left side though, I wanted it to be more of a straight line. I didn't like how circular this entire like outpost was. I just thought it would just look kind of weird. But yeah, so I added a gate over here, and then I moved around the shelter and the bathroom because it just the way the paths were connected, it just looked weird. Then I changed the paths over here, made them the medium paths, and I try to connect them and try to make this like loop thing. But yeah. Anyways, we're over here just looking at our boats, seeing how they look. They look amazing. I actually like them. I think I'm gonna do a build with them next again. But yeah. You just see that I'm looking at everything, making sure everything was alright. It was really a good park. I really liked creating this park. But yeah. Anyways, I had amenities. I had one of each. Just so they can have something to eat. Probably should have added the smaller amenities. Didn't really think about it, but I feel like the smaller amenities would have been better to add. Yeah, so you can just see me messing with this, and I'm like, okay. Eventually it just looks all okay. Then I realized that this area is sloped. I'm like, is that gonna be an issue? Yes, it was. In my mind, yes, it was gonna be an issue. I moved the buildings. I fixed the slope. And yeah, it worked. It was okay. I did the same thing for the restroom. Kind of forgot that I did it for both of them. But yeah. So that's pretty much our outpost though. I had to add trees as well, or some sort of vegetation, because it just the entire map looked too bland as well. You can see that I just add a whole bunch of vegetation. Um, just trying to make it just look, you know, more, just make it look better. I also try to hide the trees, try to hide the power tower and power towers, power, how are they called? How are they called? Pylons. I was trying to hide the pylons and like the trees and everything as well. Just give this whole area more of like a lived-in look, you know, like it's an actual like facility of some sort. Like it's not just all flat and just open field. Like I wanted it to look like it had like different areas and all that stuff. So I add a whole bunch of trees. And I know those fences are broken. I eventually remove them and I add I believe it's the invisible fences, not the, no, yeah, the biosync fences. I add the biosync fences, but I don't know. I just wanted this entire area just to be all forest and not like just desert or whatever this area of the world calls it. But I thought it turned out very, very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. You can see like it's more populated with vegetation. And then just use a smaller brush just to add trees on like this cliffside right here. Actually, it added a lot of trees. But see this, and it goes back behind the buildings. Boom, and then I just fill this entire area up with more trees. Boom. Everything just looks wow now. Okay. Then I do. Oh, it's not right now. I do have to add more changes though to that entrance part. You saw that there was like a big area that was just open. I add pretty much I add a gazebo and some other things there. But for right now, we're just making some terrain fixes over here. Just make it look like it's not just all just one flat level. I really love the boats. They turned out so good. They turned out so good. I add more trees and all that stuff. Again, this is just like vegetation, terrain work, and yeah. Oh, and then this is the fences. I didn't know if I wanted to use normal fences or invisible fences. In the end, I decided to use these invisible fences, but then it made me think, like, do I really want to use actual like invisible fences, or do I want to make it look like the dinosaurs are just enclosed, but they still have like an area to roam, right? So I do add these fences all the way through, but I then change them, I think like halfway through, where I either change them halfway through or I'll just change them now. But here I'm like, oh, we want to add like an actual door. It just looks weird that you have like a door with no fence connected to it. So that's in that moment, that's when I thought, oh, the biosyn fences have a door, and it's like an actual like invisible door type of thing, you know. So later on, I do change it to the biosyn fences, but after I put all this down. So moving on to the next area, so I pretty much just made a lot of terrain changes, not really big important stuff. This area though, it's important, or this next part is important. So I start adding water to a lot of the enclosures, or enclosures, a lot of the areas. This is the area up where it's separated from the river. So the dinosaurs up here probably would never go down to the river. so they would end up, starving or not starving, dehydrating. So it was just like, oh, okay, I need to add water. So I add like a cliff alongside these port trucks that go on from the top to the bottom and all that stuff. And so I add more plants and all that stuff. And just make it like a little bit more livable for them. All right. So the next area that we deal with is our rapids area of our part of the cruise. So I'm like, what would technically be the biggest threat to these animals? I mean, yeah, they're open in the area of all the dinosaurs, but there's only like one type of dinosaur, I guess two types of dinosaurs that can like cause issues to them, and that would be the flying ones and technically the ones that can come in water and all that stuff. But I wanted this area to be completely rocky. I was watching an episode of SWAT while recording this. So I think it was like season 6, episode 1 and 2. Basically, it was filmed in Thailand. So I had a whole bunch of inspiration from that, I guess, going into this, or building this specific part. So I just made a whole bunch of rocks and a whole bunch of rocks along the side. So you'll see that as we continue on. But I just placed a whole bunch of rocks. Like, this is probably why my game won't load anymore. Which sucks, but this area was absolutely amazing. And I wanted to see what the turn was for these guys. Because it's like, I wanted it to be like the ride where it's like, oh, we're going this way, but uh-oh. Nope, it's actually we're going this way, you know. We take like a sharp turn into like the danger area. So you can see that the boat is just going, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, it goes through the rocks. Like, you don't expect to go through the rocks, you expect to go straight and back around or something like that, you know. I thought that was cool. Note that before playing this game, I would play Planet Coaster a lot. So when it comes to rides and attractions that you can actually build yourself, I'm very good at theming things when it comes to like stuff like that, or like thinking about like how certain things should be placed. So here I'm over here like in my Planet Coaster skills, like this is what I would make a ride, which I would love to go and actually start doing some Planet Coaster stuff. I don't know if Planet Coaster 2 is worth it yet. I don't know. I don't know how many upgrades there have been, or updates, or DLC updates and all that stuff, but I'd love to play that one and film it for you guys. Same thing with Prehistoric Kingdom. That's just, I need more games that have attractions to them and not just animal lives. You know, and just take care of the animals or take care of the people. But yeah. Okay, so we keep going along with the rocks. I turned on random rocks because I just thought it would be better. And I just placed them wherever I thought they would look good. Another thing I had to worry about was the feeders. I wanted this area to be less watery, but I had to move the feeder because the feeder wouldn't allow me to. There's a part of the new movie where what was it? Where they inflate the raft for the raft scene. It's kind of like isolated and it's kind of off like a riverbank, and that's kind of what I wanted to do here. So I just kind of wanted to have like an area. I put the sand here. I changed it to the other sand though because it doesn't match. It really doesn't match. But back to like that area where the raft is. I wish there was placeable little rafts that you can just have like make it look like it's crashed, but they don't have the actual design. I actually thought about making a mod for attractions. I don't know. I have a lot of attractions in my mind. I'm like, oh, maybe I should just make a mod. But by the time that mod comes out, I think Evolution 3 might be coming out. So I also don't know how to make mods for this game, but you know, I can learn. Anyways, I put some trees down. I wanted this area to be rocks and trees. I didn't want it just to be rocks. I didn't want it to be just a valley. I wanted it to be populated with a whole bunch of stuff. So we changed the sand, and I just add a lot of more trees. It turned out well. I really loved this area. A little ride experience. Alright, so after we finished completing the river cruise rapids part of the ride, this is what it turned out to be looking like. It turned out very well. It yeah, this is probably like one of my favorite like parts of any build. You can see the the vehicle just go through the river just like how it's nothing. Like it's so enclosed, it's like it's almost hitting some of the rocks. It's just so cool. Like it's such a good ride design, and I'm gonna probably add it to my next part as well. But I cut through and I build like this little checkpoint area. I didn't really know what much to do for the rest of this park. So we are reaching the end because unfortunately the park doesn't have any animals. Um, the save corrupted before I can actually add the animals. I um I was going to add them on stream just to like, have you guys interact with it, but it it just didn't more happen. It didn't want to load, and I couldn't fix it, so I think it corrupted. But I'm happy with this park, and I kind of want to try to make that ride actually happen, the river ride. So next video, hopefully we can do it. But yeah, anyways, guys, um, yeah, we'll be finishing up this park, and that's gonna be me. That's gonna be it for me with commentary. Um, I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully I can do more of this commentary stuff. It was actually enjoyable to actually do. Actually. I remember this one time someone got upset with me because I said actually too much. I'm like, you know what? Actually, shut up. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest.